Call it a pad.
All right, good evening. Welcome to City of Hayden Planning and Zoning Meeting. Today is November 27th, and I guess first thing I'll do is call for conflicts of interest. Is there any conflicts with anything that's on tonight's agenda?
No.
Okay, I will be recusing myself for the conditional use permit hearing, just on the off chance that it's appealed to City Council in the future. May we get a roll call, please?
You most certainly can. I can find that. There we go. Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Bemis?
Here.
Chair Davis?
I am present.
Commissioner Gibson? Who's that? Sorry, I thought he was on there. Commissioner Howard? Here. Commissioner Prickett?
Here.
Vice Chair Taylor?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we do have a correction to tonight's agenda. It's just an administrative correction. The item listed as new business under 4A should be under 3, so it'll be 3A.
And it was published as a public hearing
It was.
Okay, and it was posted, oh,
twice.
and we'll let the record show that Commissioner Gibson is joining us. So it looks like we've got a full house tonight. Very good.
Howdy. Howdy. Good. Happy late Thanksgiving.
Next thing we have is a consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar are action items. The consent calendar consists of regular meeting minutes of October 16th and October 23rd, 2023, and the PZE 230110 PACE Zone Map Amendment Written Recommendation, and lastly, the PZE 230107 Hayden Bible Conditional Use Permit Written Decision. Any comments, or is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve all items on the consent calendar.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second that.
And we have a second. All those in favor indicate so verbally. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll move right into the public hearing then. I'll go grab a seat in the cheap section.
Huh? I just have to introduce you, Donna, correct? Sean, here's the script for you. Donna, will you please introduce the case to us?
Yeah. Tonight, we're here to look at the Richards conditional use permit. That's PZE 230122. As you can tell from the staff analysis, it was the last analysis that Hayden did before he left. So I'm kind of filling in for his slide presentation. The location is 11416 North Carissa Court. You can tell that's in the light industrial zone, and it's butted up against what are single-family residences in the mixed residential, and kittywampus to single-family residential that is southeast. And just to give you kind of a lay of the land, if you're standing in the cul-de-sac and you take a picture, that's what the photo, that's what it's looking like to the southeast. That's facing south from Buckles Road. So remember, this is all the way at the end of the cul-de-sac and on the southeast side. And then if you turn around and you face west from Reed Road from this property. And so they're just to give you some background information. The project site is that 11416 North Carissa Court, right down in the cul-de-sac. It's zoned light industrial. It's approximately 0.62 acres in size. It's an existing structure built for office and warehouse use. And its proposed use is recreation commercial. So any indoor or outdoor is an allowed use in the commercial and mixed use zones. and is conditionally allowed use in all other zones except agriculture. That's one of the things we say with a lot of these larger buildings in the light industrial zone. It's not unusual to see recreation requests because of the size of the structure. But we also recognize that in some cases, as when we did the zone updates to uses, it was recognized that in some cases, those recreational uses may be in conflict with the neighbors. So hence the use required a conditional use permit. The owners of the property are Lars and Paige Richards, hence the name. The applicant is First and Third LLC, I believe, and John Stockton is here to present. And the proposal, again, is a conditional use permit to allow an indoor sports facility in the light industrial zone. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to John.
So I guess I'll start off. Is there any questions before I give you my 30-second?
I gotta ask the question.
Yeah.
Has anyone had any ex parte communication with an applicant? Just for you. General public regarding this case? No.
I have talked with him on the golf course this summer about his experience in the business that he's doing, but I didn't know that it was coming here at this time. So should I recuse myself? I lost to him in a round of golf, and he was telling me about his business that he was in. It was that, yeah.
Do you feel that conversation prevents you from being objective or unbiased in your decision-making?
I'm not sure, to be honest, because I will be honest, I think that the business.
Okay, then pause.
Yep.
You should recuse yourself.
Okay.
All right, cool.
But you can sit in the back and listen.
It was a close match, though.
I was gonna ask.
What was it?
His name is John Stockton.
Oh,
And we played Avondale. But anyway, so
shoot.
I'm a resident of Hayden. I live 3 minutes from the building. And it's important to know that I'm a resident and a citizen of this community. And so I work at that office building 5 days a week, 7 to 4 every day. And during that time, there's nobody in the building but me. I can tell you that during the day, there are noises. You can hear the shotguns shooting, the skeet shooting, and of course, all the airplanes, which do make a substantial amount of noise. But when it comes to our facility, and I'm going to tell you here in a minute about our pilots, there's no sound that comes out, and I'll tell you why. We designed the facility with state-of-the-art technology. So the concept was, my older son graduated from Coeur d'Alene, and he went to college. Luckily, he got a scholarship for baseball. And during the recruitment process, I identified the technology these colleges were using to evaluate the players. And I thought, why not do that with the kids in our community? And so it's kind of like when you play golf or watch golf on TV and you see the ball fly in the air, it tells you how far it goes and the launch angle. It's that type of technology. The first thing that I did is I fully insulated the building. All the doors, the roll-up doors have padded walls on them. But then on top of that, we also installed screens so that balls do not hit any of the walls. The second thing that we did when it comes to sound was, this is not like a batting cage by any means. You're not walking in and putting tokens and hitting balls. You are getting set up in a specific area to train and get that feedback so that you can enhance your skills, baseball and softball. And so my younger son is 11, and so I had a few of his friends, doing some pilot sessions. And when this was going on, I would go outside and I would just listen. Do I hear noise? Do I hear sounds? Do I hear kids screaming? And I didn't hear anything, which is good, because there was a few, I read the report, there was a few neighbors complaining about noise or the potential complaint about noise. And so what I did, because I'm inside the building, because you can hear, is I actually changed the product that we use to deaden the sound in the building. Again, there was no sound out of the building, but when you're in the building, I'm the only employee, I'm the only guy there. So I just wanted to share with you real quick what we're doing. So regular baseball, right? When it's set off T, it does make a sound. So we're using this Baldwin ball. It looks like a baseball and the same way as baseball, but it doesn't make any sound when you hit it. And the same applies for softball. And so by doing this, it's just easier on my ears when I'm in there. But I also was doing it for the residents, just in case, right, they thought they heard something, because it has been proven that these don't. The second thing is the bats. The bat technology's come a long way. And so this bat, it's called cat bat. It has been, this is a bat that cannot be used on a facility. It's just extremely clean. And so all the bats that we utilize are from plastic or wood. And the last thing, which I think is probably the biggest part, is it's a really safe place for kids. Our students are 9, 10, 11 years old. And so when they come to our facility, they feel safe. It's a great little neighborhood, as we all know. And the community is extremely excited about this because everyone has to drive to Spokane to get the same type of training. As far as parking goes, again, Monday through Friday, 7 to 4, it's just me in the parking lot. And then I'm planning on going from like 4 to 7 during the week. There's plenty of parking. My neighbor at Serpro, he said we can park in his parking lot if we need to. But I can tell you that there's no issues with parking. And the last thing is I've told all my clients is that I want them to drive in on Warren and Buckles. I don't want them going down Reed because of that Jennifer Lane. And so they're being respectful. Right now there is some construction going on Reed, road closures and stuff like that, which traffic probably has upticked. But lastly, again, as I started, being a resident of Hayden, like I respect my neighbors. And so I went and I talked to everyone that was surrounding the facility, and I gave them my cell phone number, and I gave them, hey, you can come by anytime you want. If you think you hear a noise, there was one report of someone partying at night and they called the cops on us, which obviously was not us. But again, I went and talked to them face to face to let them know that, that's not what we're doing and what we're about. And then everyone, especially the neighbor who I think would be most affected, is the most excited. Jimmy is great. He loves the concept, and he's told me that he hasn't heard any noise at all during our pilot sessions. So with that, any questions for me?
Yes. How many parking spots does it have? And do they come by appointment, or is it just people come in, go as they please? Or
Great question. So we have 15 spaces. We have 8 in the back and 7 in the front. And then of course the cul-de-sac, we have the 2 in the middle. But during the winter, I know that's where the snow gets pushed. But again, we do have Serpro next door who has offered us his parking lot if needed. Everything is appointment only. So you have to go online and you have to book your day and time and then what you want to work on so that we are planning for them to come in. Good. Anybody else? I've been coaching baseball 15 years, and I think this is something that the community really needs, especially in the winter. It gets the kids off the video games, gets them in some sort of training facility doing something, just moving around. And so appreciate the opportunity to do this. And if there's no other questions, I guess I can sit down.
Mm-hmm.
So there are standards of approval for a conditional use permit. So we, as the commission, you need to decide if the proposal is in accordance with the general objectives or with any specific objective of the comprehensive plan and or the zoning ordinance. So as we talked about the zone map, it's in a light industrial zone, both today and on the future land use map. And is butted up against residential to the south and light industrial in all other directions. Goals of the comprehensive plan. There's about 6 of them that could apply. There may be others. Preserving, protecting that strengthen the vitality and stability of existing neighborhoods, ensuring that all development can be serviced by existing public facilities or extended to adequately serve the development, ensure adequate park, recreation, and open space are provided and maintained for the continued enjoyment of the community, adequately site essential public facilities and utilities, while contributing to the overall livelihood of the community, assure facility capacity aligns with projected growth in land use types, emphasize the enhancement and maintenance of existing parks while creatively seeking ways to acquire and develop future recreational facilities that meet a variety of community recreational interests. And then again, ensure those ordinances don't violate private property rights. And then if you go on to policies, the development should be compatible with the land use chapter of the comprehensive plan. Always evaluating community-wide impacts, improve pedestrian, bicycle, and vehicular safety along city streets, encourage and support recreational activities, passive and active uses, cater to a variety of demographics. Ensure levels of public services, facilities, and utilities are adequate to satisfy the community's needs now and as development occurs. Minimize financial and operational impacts, and ensure land use and compatibility related to the development and the airport. So then the definition of light industrial in the zoning code identifies that it provides for light manufacturing, processing, and distribution, wholesale retail sales in an environment that's clean, quiet, and free of noise, odor, dust, and smoke. So the second standard is whether or not the location, design, and size of the proposal are such that the development will or will not be adequately addressed or served by streets, police, fire protection, drainage structures, refuse disposal, water, sewer, and schools, or that the persons or agencies responsible for the establishment of the proposed use shall be able to provide adequately any such service. So as you identified, and as was identified in the analysis, the parking requirements identified that the existing structure approved for 666 square feet of office space, which requires 4 parking spaces, and that the warehousing use of almost a little over 4,000 square feet required 3 parking spaces, so 7 spaces were required with its current use. And a health fitness facility requires 22 spaces. So required parking from the proposal goes from 7 to 26 spaces, and there are 17 spaces provided on site. Also recognizing that this particular use doesn't fit in any general category in the parking standards calculation. So agency notices were sent out, and of those that returned responses, the Northern Lakes Fire Protection District required any modifications to the building were subject to their review, and that they're required to abide by all Idaho Fire Code requirements. Hayden Lake Irrigation District did not have any comments. Kootenai County Sheriff's Office provided no additional comments, and Panhandle Health District didn't have any comments. The design and planning to include construction, operation, and maintenance of the site is or is not compatible with the location, setting, and existing uses, and the intended character of the general vicinity. So a review of the site has been completed with respect to Hayden City Codes, policies, and standards, and no changes to the building and or site are anticipated as part of this request. Should additional parking be necessary beyond that provided on site or on the public right-of-way, the applicant shall provide to the city documentation of that shared parking agreement and location. So again, those agency notices that were noticed were 11 agencies, and the 4 that provided comments was pretty much the fire department. So with respect to public comments, we received 6 public comments. 4 were in support, believing the request as a welcome addition to the community. 1 was a neutral comment that was later updated to supporting, and 1 opposed was updated to supporting. So kind of, because we noticed this twice, people saw it twice, and so we got somewhat similar and somewhat different responses. And one comment was opposed to the request based on increased noise levels. I just wanted to give you the, all of the public comments kind of together, and you could see where we could see what was happening. The one home that the applicant, the one property owner that the applicant talked to, they actually responded twice. He talked to them after their second response was already mailed. So we'll get you a copy. So then the three staff recommended, or the staff recommended conditions of approval is that the approval of this conditional use permit is based upon the request of an indoor sports facility use within the light industrial zone. The approval shall run with the land for as long as the use remains an indoor sports facility herein, regardless of whether the property ownership changes. And any development of the project site and building shall comply with Hayden City codes, policies and standards with required landscaping, lighting, parking, stormwater requirements addressed as part of any future site development. The applicant should comply with the requirements of the Northern Lakes Fire Protection District as outlined in their letter of September 28th. The applicant shall provide the water usage records annually in April to the city for review with respect to possible change in sewer cap fees and O&M. And no parking is allowed on areas not designated as such. So should parking occur in areas where it's not allowed, the owner shall provide for the required parking through a joint parking agreement, an additional parking area, or through an improvement to the existing site for additional parking space, or by some other means acceptable to the city. And those are the three standards of approval. And the Planning and Zoning Commission, this is a decision, not a recommendation, may approve with conditions, the 7 that I just showed you, and you may add others, or deny the conditional use permit request for an indoor recreational facility in the light industrial zone.
Could you put thank you.
Questions for me?
So not knowing the specific area, and I don't know if you can answer it or if the applicant can answer it. Are the roads sufficiently safe that if a young teenage child wanted to ride their bike and they lived on the west side of 95, would it be a safe place for them to ride to get there?
They'd be riding down public streets like anybody else riding a bike.
Right. But it's not, I guess I'm looking at how busy are the roads in that general area.
May I answer that one?
Sure. If you know the area better, yeah.
I did. I used to live in that neighborhood, and I'd be fine with my 11-year-old daughter riding up and down the streets.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I just don't know that particular, that's why I asked. Okay.
I've got a question. Did the applicant turn in a letter of agreement for parking to use his neighbor's parking lot if necessary?
Not as of today, because go ahead. Go ahead.
So Serpro wrote the letter.
Correct. They did provide comments that you guys
Yeah.
have, and they're not opposed. We don't have a joint parking agreement per se, because it is a condition of we wrote it as a condition of their use, because if their use doesn't require it, then they would need the joint parking agreement.
And I would just say on the weekends, like Saturday and Sunday during the day, there's nobody on that whole out.
Pretty quiet in there.
Okay, okay.
I've none.
That's it? I don't believe we have any public comments.
Could just, just ask for any.
Does anyone wish to offer comments regarding the subject case? Do we have anything online? Is anybody online listening?
We don't.
Nope. Okay.
Okay.
Anyone have any further questions?
I don't have any questions.
No?
No. Close the hearing.
I do have one question.
Okay.
Are we, I'm not sure who to direct it to. I'll direct it to you, Tom.
Okay.
So, so are we changing zoning? Or
We are
are we
not.
just giving a conditional use permit that allows the existing zoning to be used for something different than? Right?
The existing zoning allows for this use to occur with a conditional use permit.
Okay, so the zoning's not being changed. We're just granting an existing, or granting a conditional use permit.
Correct.
Perfect.
Should it be approved? Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, the hearing is now closed. Any, no more questions or comments will be allowed from the public. You guys want to proceed or schedule deliberations for another time?
Proceed.
Proceed.
Yeah,
Proceed.
I'm
Okay,
comfortable with that.
let's proceed. Keith, how would you start?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think that the conditions that the staff have made are great. I can't think of any additional ones that I'd like to see other than that. So, yeah, I think it's good.
Joel?
I think it's well prepared and well put. He's got a good relationship with the neighbors, and I think all his ducks are in a row.
Mary?
As I looked through the goals and policies, it seems that those are all appropriate, and the standards of approval, I believe, are all met. I think with the requirement of the joint parking agreement, I don't see any reason why I would not be comfortable with this. I think that this is an example of where the city lacks funds to create those recreational activities in our community, that this is a local person, not an outside investor, but a local person who loves the community and wants to provide a service for the community, I think is exactly what we need. Where we can't, the public does. So absolutely, I'm comfortable with this project.
That was the only thing I was gonna add, was that something, exactly, it's something in the wintertime that kids can go get off the idiot box and go do something physical and do something with themselves. So I agree.
Mhm.
Yeah, my only comment would be that, and it's addressed in the staff conditions approval, maybe get it in writing from the neighbor
Mhm.
regarding parking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone like to make a motion?
So I'll make a motion, let me get the, that we approve PZE 23-0122 with staff recommendations as presented.
Okay,
Second.
second. Have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Bemis, or no, sorry, Commissioner Gibson?
Aye.
And Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Prickett,
Yes.
Vice Chair Taylor,
Yes. Motion passes, or
Motion.
conditional use permit passes.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for stepping up and providing something I think will be a real asset to our community,
I've been home for 30 years.
Play baseball.
right?
That's really cool. You got to do
Fun
that.
reminder.
That's cool. You got to do that.
I lost my-
What were you gonna say, Brandon? Were you approved or you on board?
I was gonna say, I like your business model.
Now you just got to go and beat him at
Well,
baseball.
thanks again. Y'all have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Yeah, now I'll be doing baseball instead of golf. You got me in golf.
Thank you.
Yep. Have a great night, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on, we have the Community Development Director's Report. Anything from the city?
We have the draft.
Nice. That's a good goal.
Commission meeting calendar for next year. We've migrated your planning and zoning commission meetings to being back to back with city council
No.
on the months that holidays interrupt.
Very good.
And as always, we won't have planning and zoning.
It's
We won't
made.
have planning and zoning commission meetings. We won't have planning and zoning commission meetings when we don't have business. I can tell you that our calendar is full through the first meeting in January, as of right now.
Nice.
I did have one quick, just clarifier. I had sent out, I've got my November dates and my December dates kind of all in my brain. So our planning and zoning commission meetings are the 4th and the 18th in December. And I put out a request wondering if December 11th would work for a joint workshop with city council. And did not hear back from enough of you to establish a quorum. So
Oh, come on.
just by a raise of arms, can you let me know that you're available for that December 11th? It's a Monday date for a joint workshop. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're coming by go-to meeting maybe. Right? Okay, thank you.
And I will not be here.
And
I'm
we'll be
also
here.
go-to meeting for the fourth.
On the 11th.
Okay. And you'll be here, but
On a March 4th and 18th, are those planning and zoning meetings or are they?
is it Burgundy?
Yeah, those are
Yeah.
P&Z.
Okay.
Burgundy
Yeah.
or
It's just a
P&Z.
little different shade. I couldn't quite.
In
tell.
March,
Yeah.
I noticed that too. Yeah, but they're P&Z.
Is that historic preservation or is that us?
Yeah, that's you guys.
So you had mentioned the county-wide P&Z.
Yeah, so,
Is that-
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
So the, last year it was the Regional Growth Housing Initiative Partnership that had like a, this is what we're doing in the area meeting, planning wide. And this year, that name has been rebranded to Kootenai Connect. Maybe that's, chime in there. And they are holding that same kind of this is what we've done over the year where they have a variety of entities come share opportunities that are available for planning and zoning related behaviors. And so I believe that's on the 13th, right? December.
Of December?
Okay.
So Wednesday. So is that right?
Well, the 11th
Yeah.
is a Monday, so
Yeah,
that's right.
so I believe that's on the 13th. So if that's something that you want to attend, I sent you an email, but if you can't find the email, I can resend it. Just let me know and I'll give them a
Yeah,
head count.
If you would resend it,
I can do that.
thank you.
Okay, is everybody ready to move on to the workshop?
Mhm.
Would anybody want to like a 3-minute break before we roll into it?
Yes.
Please.
All right, we're going to take a 3-minute break. We'll adjourn until,
Yeah, 3 minutes.
3, 4, 5.
Do the math.
Okay.
All right, welcome back to planning and zoning, everybody. This workshop is a continuation of the last planning and zoning workshop where I presented an alternative to the comprehensive plan goals, knocking them from their legacy number of 19 down to 8. The next step for that was to take the 24 policies and determine the best way to align them to the goals, since we changed the goals. Not gonna spend a lot of time on this slide. I just kind of in my head had 3 methodologies in case you guys want to take a different direction. I wanted to present them, which is just remapping all the existing policies they sat to the new goals, sustaining that many-to-many relationship. Something that was, I thought, a little harder was to rework the existing policies, creating a one-to-many relationship. That's kind of what I went with. And then obviously difficult would be just completely make new policies. I kind of did a hybrid between moderate and difficult. And so that's what you guys will see in the slides coming up. As far as general recommendations, as a guy that writes policies partially for a living, regardless of what, I believe we should replace anything that says should with will, because a policy to me is an organization's intention. And so why have an intention that says we should do this? If we're going to do it, let's do it. If we're not, let's get rid of it. So that's that. And then as far as any of the policies, we probably omitted more, but at least 8 and 20. And in case somebody liked 8 a lot, because it could be a talking point, I wanted to leave it in there. We could put it somewhere. So each of the following slides is going to look like this. The goal will be stated there. I gave it a working title so we could kind of organize it, because when I thought about the goals after the last presentation, I wanted to kind of map them into with broad strokes to say, this is the goal addressing X. And so in case this case is X, and I'll start off after I made this slideshow, I had more thoughts in my head. If I look at the goals of a city, if I look at the policies of a city, with respect to this goal and potentially goal 2, the thing that went through my head is, do these actually need to be goals? Could they be part of an abstract? There's already part of the comprehensive plan that discusses what the comprehensive plan is, right? And my thoughts are, maybe this goal isn't so much a goal of the city, but just part of the comprehensive plan. Again, trying to shrink the number of goals. Just something to think about before we meet with city council. We don't need an answer now, although I'm certainly happy to hear what you have to say, but I don't know that we need to literally have a goal that says this is our comprehensive plan, because to me, it's kind of self-evident. Having said that, if we want to keep it as a goal, I came up with 2 policies. These are from scratch. Having said that, I think they're already what we do, so it's not like it took a lot of thought. Basically, the first policy is that we're going to update it every 5 years, and that any minor adjustments to it, we can do it ahead of its 5-year in response to relevant new information, which is exactly what we're doing right now.
Right.
So any thoughts on anything I just said relative to this goal, whether it should even stay as a goal in a policy, it should be scrapped? No, let's keep it like it is, something completely different. What do you guys feel comfortable taking to city council?
I'm for getting rid of goal 1, because I thought about that when reading it prior to tonight. Like, that doesn't need to be a goal. It doesn't even sound like a goal. It sounds like something that you would read at, in the beginning of a presentation or something.
Agreed. I agree.
I agree. Is there any reason why it should stay in?
What else would you aim for those particular 2 policies to?
Well, you just make them part of the forward or the introduction to the comprehensive plan, stating what it is, when it's updated, kind of like an abstract. If you've ever had this, a big report, you have an abstract at the front that says, this is what this is.
Aren't we under some state statutes for when we have to update everything?
Yeah, there's state, yeah. You have to revisit these every 5
And
years.
that's part of it too. A good point. I don't know if this is required by law. Maybe we have to have a kind of a comprehensive plan goal. I don't know.
Well, that's why I asked, is there a reason why? it needs to be
I
stated
don't
in
write
goal.
comprehensive plans. I can tell you what the local land use planning act says in relationship
Yeah.
to you needing to have a comprehensive plan. There are companies out there that come in and work with cities to write comprehensive plans. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, why it's listed as a goal or whether it needs to be a goal or can be something else, I think those two policies are really important, and that's why I said, what are you
What
gonna
was your-
anchor those policies to if you don't have that listed as a goal?
Right.
It seems like it's a statement or a definition. If you added the word keep or maintained or something to it.
I would be good on page 1, there's the plan, purpose, and scope, and just sticking it right in the overview, right? Like right at the beginning. Or literally putting, the word abstract and having an abstract paragraph with these policies in there, unless it's not appropriate.
At the beginning of the comprehensive.
We can review it and get back to you guys, so.
Okay. Sounds like everybody's comfortable giving this one the axe, though, if it's.
Or using it in a different way is
Right,
really what
right.
it is.
Yeah, when I
It's
say
not
give
really
it the
getting rid
axe,
of
as
it,
far
it's
as goals
using it
and
in a different
policies,
way.
just rewording things and sticking it into the overview. All right, fair enough. So the second policy, I just, again, with the broad stroke, called it the intergovernmental coordination. And the policy is just that we're going to coordinate with adjacent cities, regional quasi-governmental and other public agencies, protect our natural resources, including water and park services, and promote regional transportation solutions.
Can I
think this
ask,
could easily stay, what's that?
so I noticed this in your goals. Why do you call the city her?
It's just,
I'd call it it.
I guess, because I'm less caught up with the times.
I'd call it it or its water and park system.
Yeah, again, this is just me writing. It's
Sure.
just the way I write. I'm happy with if it needs for legal reasons or other reasons to be changed to its.
Didn't you say you're a Navy man?
Yeah, we
Just
call
like
it chips. We call our
Mr.
chips her.
Hurst, there you go.
Any comments on goal 2, or we call it the intergovernmental coordination goal? Any comments on the policies? Anything that's missing? Anything that doesn't look like it's belongs where it is?
Is this combining other, several policies that are currently on there?
Yes, so what I did, maybe I should have talked about that on the slide. So what I did when I went through this process right here is I took all the policies and I made little notes about where would this align with new, and then I read them and said, does it need to stay? And some of them I said no and drew a line through. And other ones I figured out how to kind of mash together. So there might be parts of an old policy in this paragraph.
I think it would probably be important to reference
I was just gonna ask
which
that.
policies your new policy is derived from, so people can cross-reference back to the old policies to double check and make sure nothing is missing.
Yeah, I like the goal, but I think that we should switch local and regional. So it would say efforts at the local and regional levels.
Saying that local is more of a priority.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, with the goal.
Yeah, and I like this goal better than the first one as well, because I feel like the first one's not durable.
$14, 22, 21, 23. So 14 and 21 through 23, for those that are keeping score.
Okay, so wait a minute, say that again.
14
Okay,
and 21 through 23. Those were all smushed together and or omitted to make the policy that is on the right hand of this slide.
Oh, but no,
And I'm happy to do that for each of these.
thank you, Ellen. Yeah,
do we have the old ones in this document? Yeah. They're out there.
So do you know which your goal 2 is derived from?
Policy 2 or goal 2?
Goal 2.
Goal 2.
If you can put it back
I think
there.
actually it was pretty, it was right out of the old one. Goal 2 didn't change.
Okay.
If I go
Yeah,
back
I
to
see
the
that. I
old
just
goal-
did, yeah,
Yeah, if I go back to the old goals analysis.
yeah. Okay.
I think you're confident in that book.
Yeah, it is.
19 goals.
So easy.
Well, at least we're a quarter of the way through if we have to
I'm-
scratch our
I'm good.
noggins.
Does anybody else have any more comments on this one?
And here's the thing, we don't have to solve all these questions tonight. The idea is to talk about them, and then when we have our joint meeting with city council, I'm happy if anybody wants to suggest changes to this. Again, this is just putting the puck into play.
Yeah, no, it's a good puck. Go.
All right,
Yeah.
anybody move on, or more comments for 2? Brandon, you good?
Yep.
All right, this is kind of the big one here. This is the goal we're calling neighborhoods.
Okay,
And so, let's see, you're gonna wanna know this one. This one's gonna be, and again, some of these are partial, so, goals, or old policy 2.
it's
7.
policies? Okay.
Yeah, 2, 7, 10, 12, 15, 19, although that one got whacked. Yeah, so those are all the old policies that fed into this, and there's 2 slides for goal 3.
And what are the goals that were combined for 3? You knew I was gonna ask.
Okay. 3, 5, 7, 11, and, oh, actually, yeah. No? Yeah, I think actually I smashed all those. No, those are policies. I
Yep, those are the goals, 3, 5, 7,
Was it?
11, 17, yep.
those were all the ones I smushed together?
Yep.
Thanks. Yep, you're right. I put little Cs, there we go. Sorry. Sometimes time is a thief of, what a person is thinking. So there's 2 for this one, so there's 4 policies associated with this. In fact, you guys should have that on your sheet, right? If you guys look too on the policies and goals sheets that are proposed, you'll see there's minimum, there is some overlap with them. But it's really minimized, and a lot of them point back to, goal 3. I think it's 8 and 5 also point back to goal 3. And then the last goal, 8, actually the policies and the goals line up 100%, but, as I was talking with city, we thought landowners' rights were a strong enough or an emotional issue that rather than hold them subservient, we kept them both independent, even though they both point to the exact same policies. And hopefully you'll see that when we go to the slide for that.
I apologize, Alan. I was looking, because I brought my, I was looking there and I didn't really look here, so I apologize.
That's okay.
I will ask for your questions.
I will tell you on what I told Donna, again, I like to be transparent. That first policy, I just took it straight out of the existing policy. I think it could probably be massaged a little bit, but I left it because it just looked nice, I guess. I don't know. In other words, it just didn't, it was one of the few things I didn't touch at all. So the first policy you'll see there is exactly out of the old policy book. Obviously, the second one I made smaller, and I wanted to support the idea between like our major corridors or the idea with mixed use where we have transition zones. I still think we need transition zones, but again, try to simplify that idea. And I wanted to, the third policy, I think I wrote from scratch, which is to encourage the type of housing we haven't seen really built here. So I wanted to prioritize that when we did infill fill projects. as opposed to, say, for example, I think right over here off of Maple is a new development going in, and they're all those, same McMansions we seem to build over and over and over. I would like to see our comprehensive plan shift its priorities with development to, again, housing that first and second homeowners can afford. So that was the point of the Baldwin policy. And then the last one was, and this one's could be a little controversial. I would like to see with all future housing development projects that we prioritize parks and leisure space, supporting the last two citizens' desires to have open spaces. And I put in the caveat in there where existing adjacent development is not provided neighborhood recreational. So basically what we're saying is, a lot of times we'll see on planning and zoning where a bunch of land has been developed and we're just, okay, within the last puzzle piece needs to be filled. And when it's all said and done, there isn't a park, there isn't an open space as far as, the eye can see. So by making this a policy, hopefully we'll not have the prairie turn into just a solid infield of homes.
See, just a comment. I come from a background where I worked for a developer in a space where that was a given. If a developer was developing a plot of ground, they automatically knew they had to have space for a park and a church. And every few of them was for a school as well.
So that's the why
It
of,
seems so weird to me that that's not provided for here.
yeah. So that's the why, and maybe I should have started this earlier with goal 2, but I guess I'll try to articulate why I wrote the policies I did. So any thoughts on, if we're thinking about neighborhoods, again, the 10,000 foot view, is there anything else that should be there, or? And I'm fine with you guys just kind of absorbing this, listening and thinking after the meeting, that's fine too. You just tell me press on and I'll press on.
No, give me a second. Okay. If everybody's okay, if you want to go just to the next one, thank you.
Wanda, is there any danger? I know you're probably going to tell me it's all going to depend on the case and the specific thing, but do you see,
Are you seeing any red flags?
yeah, a red flag with where we would tell somebody, hey, it's a policy of the city. I know you want to develop this land into a bunch of condos or something, but the Planning and Zoning Commission is going to look around and see that there's no leisure open space in the area and use that as a criteria to potentially deny somebody to develop.
Well, you're not going to utilize your comprehensive plan to deny something like that. That has to all be code driven.
Okay.
So remember, your comprehensive plan is your visionary document. It's your
Right.
guiding document.
But our standards of approval tell us to look at the comprehensive plan goals and policies. So somebody could hypothetically say this doesn't support our city's policy. And based on that, they could deny
That's too hypothetical for me to even try to.
understand.
on there.
I fully expected that to be the answer, but obviously my goal in asking that question is not to march us 50 yards this way to find out that's a terrible thing. It's not, it's going to end up getting us sued or,
You just have to remember, you're always going to have applications that are applications as a matter of right.
right.
Those are your subdivision applications that come through your code-driven process. And you don't get to, on an application as a matter of right, revert back to your comprehensive plan and say no, unless there's something really glaring that staff has said, is they're asking for a deviation from code on this. Those are your buzzwords.
Okay.
So you just can't forget that this is not the end-all be-all of directing development in the future of the city.
Right. But it could potentially influence it. Potentially.
Yes.
and also reflect the desires of the citizens through the citizen surveys that were done.
So Ellen, I have a question about this one.
Mhm.
When you say usable open, working with the private sector, usable open space project will be funded and prioritized ahead of housing.
What is an open space project?
Yeah, what is your vision of that?
A park or a
Writing,
leisure space.
okay. Or existing adjacent.
Yeah, so I want to piggyback on what Mary's saying. So you mentioned a moment ago the property off of Maple, in between Finucane and Maple, right there by Hayden Meadows.
Mhm.
So at one point, that was open space,
Right,
based off of what we're talking about here.
right.
So would we, based off of this, be hoping, or the goal would be, within that 16 acres or whatever it was,
Mhm.
1 acre of that would have been dedicated to open space, because none of that is currently. It's all
Right,
gonna
or a
be
pocket
homes.
park, or some kind of a
something along
pickleball
those
court, or something that's,
Because also adjacent development around that has nothing.
right.
So that would have been one where we're like, something needs to be put in there.
So this
facilitate
policy is a
that.
giant red flag to me.
Okay.
Okay.
And I would need some time to really dissect it and unpack that for you.
If city
Right.
council is good with the concept, then is it reasonable for us then to ask you guys, hey, you have the idea here, how do we, how do you digest it in a way that keeps us
Massage
out
it.
of trouble?
I would say, give me an opportunity to do that ahead of time.
Okay. Ahead of talking to city council?
Yes.
Okay.
Why would you want to take something to city council that I've already said to you has a red flag?
Faith in your ability to turn it into a green flag?
Before it goes to city council?
Seriously? Well, because again, the goal of this is to communicate ideas, not to dictate words into a document. That process comes, if we're all on the same sheet of music for the ideas, then we turn it over to our professional writers, our professional legal counsel to say, this is what we'd like it to say, and you guys keep us out of trouble, unless that's just a terrible way to think about it. I'm not a lawyer.
I think she'd still like some time to do some homework before.
Okay.
But are we trying to present this to city council within a week or two?
11th, 13th, 11th.
It's not really present, it's taking their suggested ideas and your suggested ideas, melding them together. You guys will get a version of that before that meeting, and then you'll be able to talk about direction. They'll be able to give you direction, and then we'll come back and have a follow-up workshop to figure out a direction.
The part that's bothering me, I'll tell you, is the will be funded and prioritized ahead of. I don't care what's before that or what's after that. It's those words of having a policy where you're trying to prioritize and fund projects ahead of others. That's the
Okay,
language.
so maybe just the marker and we get rid of it and funded, or again, whatever is the appropriate thing to do.
Or it could
Yeah, and
just
maybe
flat
we
out
just-
say, must provide.
Just
this.
delete the will be funded, working with
Yeah.
private sector usable open space projects.
I'm fine with that.
Or prioritizing private open space projects, I don't know, I'd have to think about that. Once you start prioritizing one use or project over another, you are going to have some private property right issues.
Okay. And again, this is a limited use case. This is where existing adjacent development is not provided. So it's not everywhere,
Again,
it's just,
who defines that?
Is that the same deal on the prior slide too? Because the third one, that's what, that bottom one,
I struggled with that one too, and
Yeah,
then
I
when we
thought-
got to the next one, I thought, okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't have any heartburn with the idea of the infill projects and this direction towards utilizing a certain residential home product on infill projects, and if you know infill, it's usually 5 acres or less. That's concept is phenomenal. Maybe we just kind of massage the language of that a bit.
But I know that we have done projects previously that were that were of this nature in a pocket area, and there was a lot of pushback on that.
Yeah, there's that development that's fairly new. It's just on the southwest part of the country club golf course, the little cul-de-sac there. And it's just house. So, yeah, we've done that. And again, the goal or the,
So that, like, that particular policy in general, I have another city that I work for that kind of flipped that concept to, their policy was, identifying that the city would take the initiative to identify infill development opportunities for smaller single-family homes and townhomes. So rather than prioritizing or looking at it being developer-driven, they talk about their own policy and their goal being, identifying those infill locations for those types of housing. So
how does that work? Rubber meets the road. You can identify something and then have developer go, thanks for that. We're going to build, an
it's
apartment
totally right.
complex
This
there
is just a
anyway.
goal. These are just goals and policies.
Right.
This is not your code. This is not.
Okay. Are we ready to move to 4?
Yeah, this one will need some massaging, but yeah.
Okay, infrastructure. Let's see, legacy policies, 1, 4, 5, 6, which was omitted, 9, 13, 15, 16, 18, which was omitted.
Okay. You lost me.
Yeah, you said that fast.
You said that way too fast for me, Alan, I'm
Watch the
sorry.
YouTube then, no, I'm kidding.
Oh, you're so rude.
1,
13,
4, 5,
Mm-hmm.
6,
18.
9, 13,
I lost the first 3 minutes.
16, 18, and of those, I omitted 18 and 8 for, or not 8, sorry,
6, you said.
6, thank you.
Okay, so those are the current policies. And what goals was this one massaged from? You knew I was gonna, you just might as well just get prepared. I'm gonna ask the question.
Oh, you're teaching me patience is good.
Oh,
4, 8, 10, and 15 were smushed into one,
thank you.
I believe.
I won't call you out on it, not in public.
Because it might be that those refer to the policies. I really think those refer to the policies. I don't know that I have it on the slide, to be honest with you,
Okay.
of what I smushed together for
The goal
the
itself.
goals. Yeah, I think those are referring to policies, actually.
Yep, those are goals.
Were they?
Yep.
Okay, thanks for keeping me honest.
Uh-huh.
I did the first part like a month ago,
This one
sorry.
is infrastructure.
Yeah, 4, 8, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the mindset, obviously the first one is we want to keep the city, looking at the impact of, project infrastructure on existing city resources and, plan and develop, to accommodate growth. The second one,
What's environmentally sound?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask that too.
it's a legal term. I just drafted it. I assume that we want to do things that, I'm being serious.
Well, environmentally sound, that's a red flag.
Oh, gotcha, in the goal.
Yeah,
I guess when I wrote that, I thought of things like the aquifer, not setting things up that are gonna destroy our natural resources.
Yep.
And then, I think the thing I added, to this, would be the second policy, which is, that we have to consider infrastructure, for annexation decisions. Unless the applicant is gonna fund it. And, I did that kind of in response to a lot of the, verbals that we've heard over the years with planning and zoning, where people say we want growth to pay for itself. Even though it's my understanding that growth more than pays for itself. And it's just not a well-known thing, but that's my level of understanding right now, doing, turnover with the existing mayor. This is actually,
but when we, and I'd have to look at this more to know if I feel like if this says that, but I think that it's important that in our comprehensive plan, in our city culture, and that's what our goals are, that's our city culture, that it dispels the perception that growth isn't paying for growth.
Right, yeah, some of these policies I wrote,
It's not.
again, in direct response to the citizen surveys, what was on their mind, what we hear at P&Z. Not to pacify our citizens, but to incorporate their concerns.
I see that.
Anything else with 4?
What do you mean by ensure infrastructure development costs are shared equitably?
In the goal.
In the goal. That's just that the developers and we say developers, the truth is, most of the development is done, the developer's the third party, it's the new landowner, right? Somebody sells their 5-acre parcel to somebody else and we all get mad and yell at the developer. It's really the guy that bought the land that's employed the developer
Really
to
the one that sold the land.
develop it. But the idea there is that the person that has now bought the land is going to ensure during the project that they're paying their fair share at least. So that was what I meant when I wrote what I wrote.
Okay.
Nobody's getting a free ride of let's develop Hayden and not pay for it.
I don't understand what you just said. Say that again.
That there's what's the right word? I'm looking for a synonym for equitable. A reasonable amount.
Well, just answer me this. Who do you want to share equitably in the cost of the infrastructure?
Whoever's should be responsible for the new infrastructure, where that's part of the, in other words, I don't know if it's the developer proper, the landowner proper, whoever the person is who's taking the land and developing it.
So shared equitably with the city?
Yes.
Okay.
But we might not even use those words. Again, the point was to communicate that we're not developing here without the people that want to do the development paying their equitable share.
Paying their fair share of the development.
Yeah.
Infrastructure costs. Like impact fees.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, isn't that an impact fee issue?
No, it's,
No.
no, it's, I mean,
Yeah,
yes, they
it's a
pay
no,
impact
but-
fees, but no, developers pay to put in the public infrastructure. They
Right.
already pay for it. It's required
Right.
by your code.
Yep, and the
Right.
roads and the
Mhm.
gutters and the sidewalks.
The
so-
issue isn't, the financial issue is ongoing maintenance,
Yeah.
Right.
because they don't, once they're done, they're
Later,
done.
it's-
Once they're
Then they
final
get to do
project-
this and walk
Well,
away.
the homeowner then, I assume, pays that as part of their property taxes, right?
Yeah, but our property taxes aren't high enough to cover those costs.
That's the issue.
Mhm.
Mr. Taylor's on track.
All right, good with this? All right, so 5, this was a big smash, and kind of a rewording, and I'm gonna go back to why I came up with this. There was a 2007 downtown Hayden retail market analysis that criticized our kind of our central business district, or the concept of what we have as a CBD. And I think, given the small size of our CBD, I think it's a worthwhile goal to solidify it. There are some legacy places that are turning over, and the new shops look a lot better. I think that needs to be more consistent. And so that was the idea with the goal. So the policies were just to concentrate business development in the CBD, and then along established industrial park developments and primary transportation corridors, which is what I think reality is right now. And then that's where we would put, other than single-family housing options, is along those primary transportation corridors, which again feeds the idea of not putting them in single-family neighborhoods.
What policies did you put together for that one?
Sure. 11, 17, 24, and I omitted 24, so just a couple. So I wrote some, obviously, right? The second one was kind of in response to how our CBD area has been developed in the past. We don't seem to always take into account the use that we're putting in there's ability to generate tax revenue. And I realize the city is not a business, but I think it's just not the way I think. If we're gonna have a downtown business, it needs to generate tax revenues, and sticking something in the middle of it that's huge and gives us no tax benefit is just a terrible idea. So that was why I wrote the second policy.
First policy there, though, consider mixing where it doesn't interfere with established developed neighborhoods. That doesn't really belong in this CBD discussion, I don't think.
Okay.
Can you say that one more time? I'm sorry.
I don't think the sentence, consider mixing where it doesn't interfere with established developed neighborhoods other than single-family housing options along primary transportation.
I think I worded it like that because if there was, I don't have every corridor memorized, but what if we have some single-family housing or like a development along, say, Hayden Avenue somewhere or along Prairie Avenue? I didn't want to blow that up with something else, so that's why I put it there.
But I do think if we're gonna look at the CBD, we should have that be its own specific goal
Okay.
and policy.
Yep. Yeah, and I think Fonda said the first time goal 5, when she initially saw it, looks like it might need to be cut in half. Maybe we need to have one for CBD, and maybe we need to have one that talks towards our primary transportation corridors. And that could be 2 different,
Yeah, I think in this
Goals.
case, more is a little better.
yep, we could do that, that's fine.
So Alan, what, and this again wouldn't be a CBD question or comment, but more neighborhood nodes.
We'll get to that.
Okay. Okay.
I appreciate the real. And then the other one is encouraging small scale retail and service in our downtown areas. In other words, we're trying to encourage, not that we can't tell Walmart or another business you can't come here, but the idea is to encourage small businesses, locally owned, employing Hayden citizens. That would be, again, the ideal.
Mm-hmm.
Press on.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, 6, this is where I kind of tackle transportation. These and you guys are gonna wanna know what policies. 11,
You're learning.
11, 17. And these I think I wrote because this is more of a vision that I have, which is to help reduce our traffic issues. I think it's a good policy to, where we can, establish non-vehicular pathways between parks, node location retail businesses, neighborhoods. Ensure that we have parking down here. I know the mayor and I had lunch the other day, and it was nice that we walked from City Hall to the taco place up the street. That's what I think, to me, is a downtown should have, right? You shouldn't have to drive from 3 blocks to get somewhere. So ample parking. And then the third one, which is something I don't think Hayden's quite done yet, which is where it's appropriate to have service nodes that promote pedestrian or non-vehicular traffic. And obviously, that would require some coordination. I don't know that the paradigm of the corner grocery store, like when I was a young person, is even feasible in today's business world. But the idea with this policy was, you know, right now, if I want to get milk, I got to drive to Super One or Albertsons. And while I'm not against either of those places, they're great. Obviously, it'd be easier to flip your kid a buck and have him or her go down to the store on the corner. Less traffic on the roads. Just trying to think of ideas to tackle the major issues that we hear about at P&Z.
So is that what you're envisioning? Is that your picture on that third one?
Yeah, I mean, I think we
Okay.
should explore where it's legal, where it's smart, where it makes sense, some neighborhood nodes. Now, again, it could be that we find out it's a dated idea. But again, I'm trying to think about and tackle transportation.
Yeah, I
I don't think
understand.
you see a bigger subdivision going in, you have some commercial pads in that,
Yeah,
so that you can be able to walk to them.
it's not dated.
Okay.
No. The idea that we all have to drive to Highway 95 along with everybody else in Kootenai County to get to whatever Walmart or wherever we're going to get our goods is totally ridiculous. And that's the reason why we have bad traffic in our little corridors.
One of the reasons, yes.
Everybody's going there.
Yep. So again, just trying to think of how to solve these problems. All right, President?
Yeah.
Only two more folks. All right, this one has to do with being good environmental stewards. When we have land use decisions, we should consider preservation of our resources and historical structures. And then this one, Fauna might jump on, but I think an environmental impact analysis is a good idea when we're using, implementing projects that are on previously undeveloped acreage.
Is that supposed to be comprised?
Can't do that?
Code driven.
Is that supposed to be comprised, not compromised?
What's that?
The second policy, the first word in the third sentence or third line.
I know, I
No,
think he
we
means to say
compromise.
that it compromises previously
Meaning
undeveloped.
you're gonna disturb it.
That's when an environmental impact analysis is required is federally driven.
Okay. Are there words that we could use like that to say, for example, if we're going to, if somebody comes before us and says, I want to put 200 homes right smack on top of the aquifer, is there something where we can stand on to say some kind of an analysis that should be performed, that we ensure that if this project is approved, we're not going to destroy the aquifer? And again, I'm just throwing a hypothetical.
Aquifer's not our jurisdiction.
I'm just using a hypothetical.
How about a more recent thing that was causing a stir and then,
Let me just say it this way,
Stone
instead of
Creek.
talking about something that's pending.
yeah.
Let's make sure that we're not trying to govern outside of our jurisdictional authority.
Sure. But the idea with this one was, we have places in Hayden that used to be a farm or that used to be a field. And so the idea there is, are we taking the pregnant pause to say, what we're going to do here isn't going to destroy a wetland or.
You have, I mean, the answer to that is you are already taking all of those steps. You're noticing every agency who needs to provide comment.
Right,
You have staff that is following up
right.
ad
So,
nauseum to make sure that they're getting a comment if one is needed. Because we don't have jurisdictional authority.
okay. So
To
this
govern
policy
all
could
of
be
that.
fine the way it is because it's just simply documenting what you just said.
You're asking for an environmental impact analysis. No.
Yeah, get rid of the formal, yeah, get rid of the, again, idea, not the exact words, just,
You would say something like, make sure, I'm trying to think, because your policies are designed to be your position paper.
right,
So your goals are your vision and your policies are your position.
right.
So what position are you taking? So it's not, and then your code is your code. That's
Right.
your law. So you're in this policy land of this is the position we take on this goal. So our position would be something along the lines of environmental protection,
Okay,
but not mandating analyses.
that's great.
Environmental impacts of previously undeveloped acreages shall be properly vetted or whatever the word may be.
Yep. Well,
But
I'm
you're
sure if we
already
merge-
required to do that by code, so
Right.
yeah.
Or
Well, but again, part of
ensuring
this-
that we're making sure that we're going to the proper agencies and that.
right, yeah, part of this, again, is addressing concerns from our citizen surveys. And if we're doing this already, this is where we're just pointing to it. The words to me don't matter, it's the idea. So forgive me for my
So are
It's
we
okay.
questioning,
mediocre English skills here.
are we
Yes, sir.
questioning the goal or more so the policy?
More of the policies.
Because the goal, the idea is we're on, or do we like the goal?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any concerns with the goal.
Okay.
I got hung up on environmental impact analysis.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why I get free training is a 50-cent word. All right, the last one, and again, this one could have easily been all folded into goal 3, but in talking to Donna, private property rights are an important part of Idaho, part of our culture. And so it's broken out, it's completely duplicative of in fact, this policy maps back to goal 3 also. But the idea here is to, in fact, this is right out, it's a legacy policy. Is number
Number 15.
15, yep.
I see that at 16. I think you also need a policy that like create clear and manageable zoning so that property owners know what they can and can't do with their property.
That,
That would be part of your action plan.
Okay.
yeah, I forgot to say, so if we get to a point with city council where we have new goals and policies, there's a third layer to the onion, which is all the actions that are supposed to be done
Bet.
in response to this, and we'd have to tackle those in the future.
So I'll read you real quick just to kind of refresh your memory, what we were just talking about, your goals, policies, and action framework. So goals are broad statements indicating a general aim or purpose to be achieved. A goal is a direction setter. It's an ideal future state or condition related to the public health, safety, or general welfare toward which planning and implementation actions are directed. I'll pause there because you don't need to hear the rest. Policies are statements providing guidelines for current and future decision-making or position-taking. A policy indicates a clear commitment of the Hayden City Council. It is an extension of the plan's goals, reflecting topical nuance as well as an assessment of conditions and how the city will respond. But it's the position that you're taking in relationship to the goal. And then your actions are initiatives, projects, and programs to put policy into motion, which is also your code. That should probably be in there too. Updating code.
So how much of this massaging is completely mute considering our code? How,
It's not mute.
Oh,
It's not moot. You mean,
Okay.
yeah, no.
so our codes would already, these would already be mutually supportive. We're not doing an exercise that is going to create a domino effect
Oh, you could be.
and
We
completely
won't know
change
until
our
you're done.
codes.
No, it could, we could be needing to change code once you finish your comprehensive plan.
Okay,
Because we did that on the last conference, and we changed code to.
Generally, an update, a significant update to a comprehensive plan will drive code changes.
okay.
So I want to read one more sentence about a goal, just because I think it's really important for you to hear this. A goal is generally not quantifiable, time-dependent, or suggestive of specific actions for its achievements. So kind of keep that in mind.
so not measurable.
A goal is
Kind of
not
the opposite of the
measurable.
SMART style of goal setting, right?
So our goal's not.
Yeah,
to
don't,
get
these are not SMART goals.
Right.
Pardon me?
It's not something you're trying to achieve.
No, it's a vision. Your policies are more your position on the goal.
That kind of,
So we shouldn't call it a goal, we should call it a vision.
No, there is a vision. That was slide one. That got shortened too.
Okay.
Did you guys all see that?
I'm just saying, Brandon's saying a goal is something you set to accomplish, and
Yes.
it is.
When we set our goals,
So this isn't a goal because we're
productivity
not
goals,
trying
that
to
is
accomplish
correct.
it.
Yeah,
But, okay.
these are not productivity goals.
And your goals might not be in alignment. You might have goals that conflict with each other.
Yep, that's true.
Why would we want to do that?
It
Why
just
would we want
happens.
to write goals that completely?
Like, can you give an
Both sides of the
example
fence and get away
of how
with it.
something like that would
Yeah.
be?
Well, you're trying to protect property rights, and then you're telling them they gotta build a park.
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
So,
perfect
Okay,
example.
Good job.
Or sometimes, because your goals are generic enough also, they apply in residential and commercial. You guys tend to laser in on this residential aspect because that's the hot topic right now. But you can have a goal that's applied one way to commercial and completely the opposite to residential.
well, and I can see that when we're talking about neighborhood
Well, I'll say
context,
that First time.
that it is applied differently if I'm talking about
But at the
The
same
industrial park
the
versus
industrial
the.
park versus, large commercial versus residential.
The cost of the house, each house though, because you can't divide.
Yeah, I can see that.
There will be less of them.
There'll be fewer houses to divide the cost of house.
All right, any other questions? So I think our goal is, to be prepared for the 11th of December with city council. Use what we've talked about tonight, our ideas, write your thoughts on your copy, bring them to the meeting or communicate with Donna if you prefer ahead of time. And, present a reasonably united, I mean, again, we all have our ideas, but as long as we're mostly on the same sheet of music, I think we want to be productive to city council, and not an octopus with all our
Yeah, and
arms.
not knowing where they're starting is a little bit interesting.
Yeah.
To not know how far apart are we, or are we already reasonably in harmony?
We'll find out.
Just need to tweak,
We'll find out.
so,
The memos will go out by the end of the week.
okay,
You'll have lots of time to chew on them.
okay, thank you.
And they'll have lots of time to chew on them.
I missed what you said.
I said memos. The memos will go out by the end of this week. Show everybody's everything. You guys can chew on them before the workshop.
Okay,
That one, for the 11th was at like 4 o'clock though, right? Was that the one that was earlier?
I think we already had the one that was earlier that was supposed to be early. I don't know. They're all at 5.
From here on, they're all
Yeah.
5 o'clockers. Okay.
so we have, take me through the onion layers. We have workshop here, they've had a workshop, then we're gonna do a joint workshop,
That way everybody knows what everybody else is thinking.
right?
Then it might go back to P and Z.
It will
It
go,
will.
it will go
Right.
back to P and Z.
Where we're then doing what? Putting a rubber stamp on it?
Well, there's no
Or-
it at this point. It's
No, I realize
What does that
that.
going to be words changed.
I don't know,
in the
I
comprehensive
probably can't say. You know what I mean? You're in session, all that other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's,
At the end of the day, planning and zoning initiates
You adjourn.
changes to the comprehensive plan. So it's not that, city council's gonna ask you to look at things, consider things. The mayor hypothetically could do the same,
Mm-hmm.
but ultimately, you're on a commission to, make these decisions.
make a recommendation to council as what, if anything, should be changed
Right,
in the comprehensive plan.
okay, I mean hypothetically, you could come back in January and say, we like the comprehensive plan just like it is.
Okay, and then I guess I was asking, because you had mentioned then the other layer of the onion is then the actions.
Mhm.
Are there other layers of the onion that we haven't talked about?
Just the ordinances or changes that would be affected.
Okay. Are we hoping that in making any change right now will just, so when is our 5-year from what is current?
2 more years.
2 more years. So are we hoping then that in making any changes right now, that we move with that date forward and then just go another 5?
No, I don't know. It depends on.
I don't know. Depends.
how
Or
many-
are we looking at tweaking and massaging now and then at that 5-year mark in 2 years,
My understanding
doing
is
it all again anyway?
we're supposed to look at the comp plan every 5 years from the last time it was looked at seriously based on population, other things that we aren't looking at here. So I see this as a minor revision, even though it could be argued it's a significant minor revision. At the 5-year mark,
I like that oxymoron.
I think that's where we look at other factors too.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound right, Donna?
Well, I know there's been a lot of talk about the future land use map, so where does that come into this whole conversation?
After you've gone through your goals and your policies, your
Right.
goals and policies drive your future land use map.
And I'll share with you openly, I have ideas, I've already talked with Donna, there's things I want to do with the flume, however you want to pronounce it.
Will that be part of this workshop or is that another workshop?
That's different.
Separate.
But
That,
Whoa, whoa.
again, that's more layers of the
Another
onion.
one?
No, no, it's not
it's
entirely.
different. It's not, yeah, they're not dependent on each other.
Okay.
They're related.
We can get there. I mean, we've got proposals of future land use map, amendments to the future land use map that'll be included in the memo that'll go out. But ultimately, it comes after and Wanda can jump in, but your goals and policies drive your
Everything in your
future land use
Right.
map.
every chapter.
Your goals and policies also drive your chapters as well. So depending on how significantly you change your goals and policies, it does have domino effects to the rest of the plan.
So I guess,
Or it can have, it doesn't have to have, it may have. That's a caveat.
okay, so, and I appreciate that, because you always add more to my understanding, and I really do appreciate that. Acknowledged. So my concern about how significantly we alter it now, and then in that 2-year mark,
It's a fluid,
are we just, I understand that it's fluid, but I'm also looking at when you're doing it all together, isn't it quite an expensive?
it is.
So
Again, depending on how these goals and policies potentially change or may change the future land use map, and how those assumptions that were in the future land use map, how significantly those change,
Well, they can change
will
the master plans.
determine whether or not the master plans will need to be updated. So it is a path you've got to kind of work through.
And I understand that, and that's why I'm a little bit concerned about how much we do now, that it's not going to then start the 5-year clock again, but really it's just an interim. All we did was add a lot of expense
Mary,
in.
That's just a course correction. It's just a little, and at 5 years, it's a
I'm
big course correction.
But are you
Well-
dancing around the topic of the political change going on in?
No, absolutely not.
So then why does that matter though?
It's about how much we then create in expense, financial as
Well, you
well as
haven't gone down.
manpower.
Well, you've gone down the manpower expense right now.
I know that.
But you haven't gone down what we talked about on the front end of, what was the last one? $450,000 was the cost of the last
big number.
comprehensive plan. Because you hire a consultant, you do all this public outreach, you do these surveys, you have these town halls, they do all this drafting, you bring all this drafting to you. You're not doing all of that right now. You're
Okay.
trying to do it yourselves. You may end up in a place, and Alan kind of alluded to it earlier, where so many changes have been suggested that we say, you need to run this, we have to hire a consultant. Like, we don't have the manpower, nor
Right.
do we have the expertise to figure out every check and balance of what's being changed by adjusting this goal or policy. For instance, I'm just looking at your land use chapter and the first 2 pages of your land use chapter. You want to make giant adjustments to the identification of any of those land uses on the future land use map. Well, that makes an adjustment to this entire description on your chart on page 18, which then can trickle down to affect your master plans. All of that has to be looked at. So, but you have to start with goals and policies.
I understand that.
We started you at goals and policies. There, you have an entire section in your land use chapter on neighborhoods and overlay zones. That's your central business district. Those are your neighborhood nodes. You've defined neighborhood nodes. You've identified locations for neighborhood nodes. If you're gonna back away from neighborhood nodes, now you're changing this entire chapter. So we can't know the trickle down effect until you tell you and council, or council finalizes, you recommend and council finalizes the change to the goals and policies.
And then there's an open house.
Okay.
And then there's an open house, yeah. Yeah, we're
You
not,
got to get the open house in here somewhere.
but the goals and policies, you have to start there.
Okay.
And I think it's fair to say we can't overlook that while the comprehensive plan was done with a ton of community outreach, after the last comprehensive plan was published, we accidentally initiated a whole new round of public outreach. And a lot of it wasn't favorable, so I think it's reasonable that city council asked us to look at this stuff. And so I think our goal should be to do as best that we can to answer the bell.
We're always trying to do that. And what I heard was we may go through this exercise and decide that some of the things that we want to change are too significant at this time to not bring in a consultant and say, okay, well, we'll hold on that until we get to that point. In order to not create just an interim huge expense. Okay. I already acknowledge that we have created a huge manpower expense, and it is because we have an amazing staff that you guys have done that, and I just want to acknowledge your hard work. Thank you.
Okay, anything else we need to talk about tonight?
No, it looks like we'll be here next week.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion we adjourn.
Adjourn.
Before you guys all leave, though.
Yes.
Maybe I'm gonna go off air.